In this video I want to show you how I give canting into my fins. The basic system with the wooden core and the colors and everything is the same as I showed in my previous videos. First I draw my outline. I either come up with an own design or I take something that I like that I find in the internet. In this case I take the above design and I look up the measurements. Usually the producers of fins give you quite accurate measurements so you can draw the fin out in actual size. I find the difficulty with canting is that if I just cut the pegs into the right angle, I lose a lot of stability at the base of the fin. I try to avoid this by letting the fibers go all the way through into the pegs. Of course, it's possible to do this with any kind of base, either Future or FCS or US fin base, whatever. As always, I calculate the thickness of the wooden core beforehand because it's crucial to have the lamination going all the way through into the pegs and not losing that thickness there. As you can see, I've got a birch plywood core with a pink paper in between. For fibers I use glass on the outside, and on the inside I use glass, carbon and Alutex glass. When you laminate the core, make sure the paper is really soaked with resin, so the resin goes all the way through. The Alutex is regular copper weaving glass, but it's got this aluminum steamed onto it, and it gives the glass this aeration that I really like. This time I try to focus on the canting. I don't explain all the steps that I explained before. I cut out the wooden core, including the base section of the fin. I prepare two blocks. One of them is a sanding block in the above shown angles. Of course, it's up to you to decide how much canting you want to give your fin. Accordingly, you have to change these angles. I want to give my fins a canting of 6 degrees. That's why I end up with 96 degrees on the sanding block. I mount the fin on a flat surface and I let only the base stick out. With the sanding block, I now sand down the angle. The layers of the plywood and the pencil marks help me to stop at the right depth. Now it's, as usual, profiling the fin and sanding it, preparing it for lamination. This time I stained the wooden core black. Dark colors show air bubbles in the lamination much better, and I want to try out a new way to laminate, so like this I can check much better if I have air bubbles inside or not. As always, I prepare the layers of my fibers in the right order. I prepare a wood block with a foam stripe on one edge. The foam should be soft and thin and preferably a wedge. It only has to bring the glass fibers up to the fin core. I attach it with a plastic tape. It's important when I laminate the fin that I have the base right on top of this foam piece. This time I perforated the foil, the separation foil, with a needle. Every about 10 millimeters I poked a hole into the separation foil so the air can pass out. Between the wood block and the perforated separation foil I put one layer of cotton cloth of an old t-shirt or something like that, and one layer of separation foil without perforation. In the above picture I used 2 layers of cotton, but 1 layer is enough. When I poke a hole into the separation foil, it leaves a hole that is on one side a small crater and on the other side a small peak. I make sure I keep the crater towards the lamination and the peak towards the cotton. This leaves me with a better surface and I don't have to sand as much later on. It is important that I have the base of the fin on the edge of the wood block when I laminate. Like this, I'm sure that the canting part of the fin is exactly above the foam stripe. Here I'm starting to laminate the inside layers. The rest of the lamination process is exactly the same. After 12 hours of curing, I take it all apart. Here you can see the excess resin that went out together with the air bubbles. The result is really nice. There are no air bubbles inside the lamination, and there is only as much resin as I really need. This system is not new. It's the way you do it if you work with vacuum. But I wanted to see if it works just like this by hand too, and it really does. I cut away the excess material and I sand the fin into shape. This is the line where the canting starts. The next couple pictures show how I get the canting angle right to sand the base of the fin. This is important because the inside of the fin base will be finished the way it is now, so this angle must be right. I mount the fin with double-sided tape onto the distance holder. I keep things parallel because it's easier to get the angles right. Once the inside of the fin base is finished, it's time to build up the outside part of the fin base. I do this the same way as shown in my previous videos. The only real difference is that I use the distance holder to keep the canting in position. I fill the fin base with glass and resin and press it with a wood block. "12 hours later. First I saw, then I file, then I sand, because the sanding is the most difficult, and the less I must sand, the easier it is. With this sanding block used on a flat surface, it's quite easy to get the fin base accurate. I like it if the fin really fits nicely into the plugs. I show this step on a different fin because I forgot to take pictures on the original one. Here you can see the finished fin from below. You see the peg section, the square one, and the profile. Here again the fin, and this is the close-up looking to the peg. You can see the angle in the fibers. The fibers are not following the grain of the plywood. This is extra strength for your fin. One of these fins weighs about 65 grams. That's about 2.3 ounces. That's not bad for a fin of this size, I think.